I have small hands, and you know what they say about people with small hands? They make great chair reviewers. This is the ThunderX3 Flex Pro ergonomic chair, and it is the most adjustable chair I've ever seen under $500, and it does most of it really, really well. But these chairs aren't gonna be for everybody. Let's get honest. Links to everything will be in the description below. It costs you nothing, but it helps keep these honest reviews going, and I really appreciate the support. The ThunderX3 Flex Pro comes in two different variants. You get the mesh variant, which only comes in an all black color, and then you get the fabric version, which only comes in a dark gray color. Of the two, I strongly recommend the mesh over the fabric one, but we'll get to that a little later in the video. Normally, I would talk about the pros and cons of a chair as I break down its functionality, but because there's so much going on here, I'm just gonna break down all of its functionality really quickly and then talk about the pros and cons of the chair. Functionality between the two colors is exactly the same. I'm gonna use the gray one because it shows up a little bit better on camera compared to the black. So starting from the bottom, we get these massive casters. They're huge. They roll really, really nicely on carpet, on hardwood floors. Great. The legs are these big, wide, flat metal things, and I love when they're flat and wide and big and black.
What did he say?
In all seriousness, I love it because they're flat and it allows me to rest my feet on them. If you're a fidgeter like me, you can rest your feet there and just kind of spin yourself around inside the chair. Now, moving to the right side of the chair, you get a couple of knobs here. Starting right here with this arm in the front, there's a tab in the back of it that's gonna be your height adjustment to raise the chair up or down. And then you're gonna get this knob here, and this knob spins 4 times. It's gonna be your tilt tension knob. It's really nice that you only have to turn it 4 times, unlike 300 times like on other chairs. So fully loosened, it's gonna allow your tilt to be really loose. And then if you turn it once, it's gonna be a little bit tighter. And then if you turn it again, tighter still. And then if you turn it a 4th time, then it's going to be very difficult to push back inside this chair. Back here under your butt area is gonna be this tab, and if you tilt it forward, it's actually gonna be a seat tilt. And so what that does is it tilts the seat forward like this, and this is supposed to be good for people who are a little closer to your desk. A lot of gamers game like this, right? When you're really into the game, you like scooching up on your chair, but the problem is if the seat stays flat, a lot of people end up hunching over like this. So when the seat tilt goes flat, it actually allows your feet to dig into the ground to get that proper posture inside of your chair. And of course, with the armrest being there, you can have a much more ergonomic / healthier posture when you're really getting into the games like that. To get it to go back to flat, not only do you have to turn the tab, but you should also click it one more time. If you don't, I notice that the chair kind of stays loose and will kind of flip forward like that. So just make sure you lock that in place. Moving over to the left side here, you're gonna get this tab as well as a knob. This tab is basically going to be your seat depth functionality. And so if you pull this up, you gotta jut the hips out like that, and it's gonna extend the seat pan out. It gets really, really deep. I'm 5'6", and you can see this thing extends way past the back of my knee pit. Best practice is supposed to be around 1 to 2 fingers between the back of your knee pit and the front edge of the chair. And you can see that this thing gets super duper deep. And I'm happy to report that when the seat depth is all the way out, when you tilt back, you cannot feel the back edge on your tailbone or butt area at all. The knob on the left side is going to be your tilt lock. And I really love tilt locks because it allows you to lock yourself in a tilted position. So if I go ahead and turn like this and I go ahead and activate that knob, it's gonna lock me in a tilted position just like that. And it allows you to just kind of relax without having to activate your core to be relaxed and lounging when you're playing games or watching a movie or whatever you might be doing. Moving up to the seat, you've got the fabric material and then you have a mesh material. But here's the thing. The fabric material is not fabric and foam like it is on many other chairs. For example, in the fractal chairs, the fabric version is going to have foam inside of it as well as a fabric cover. This fabric version is basically fabric mesh. There is no foam underneath here. You can see that this is pretty springy. It's just like mesh. After sitting in both of these chairs for quite some time, we found that the fabric material is a lot firmer compared to the mesh material. That's gonna be the primary reason why I'm gonna recommend the mesh variant over the fabric variant, but more on that after we break down the chair. Both the mesh version and the fabric version are going to run into the hard edge problem that we see on pretty much every mesh chair, where the hard edges are pretty exposed, they're not padded whatsoever. It's fine for if you're sitting, but if you have wider legs, or if you're a single leg tucker or a double leg tucker, you may find yourself running into those edges, and for single leg tuckers especially, this is going to push up on the ankle. It's not gonna feel super comfortable. When it comes to the armrests, these things have a ton of adjustments, starting with up and down, just like that. Then there's this little tab on the inside of each armrest. If you push that, it's gonna allow you to swivel the arms. And the swivel here is gonna allow you to swivel the arms 180 degrees. So you can turn them to the point where they're completely flat like this, or I can turn them completely the other way until they're totally flat like that. I'll talk about why in just a minute they designed it this way. And then you've got the ability to swivel the arms, and the way they swivel is you just push it. And these things can swivel 360 degrees. So they can go all the way around this way and all the way around that way. The first thing I noticed about these armrests is that they do not go very low at all. Look at how tall they are compared to my thigh here. These things will not go under any desk. I am pretty short, and it does not go under mine unless you have some freakishly tall desk. It will not. But that's why these arms are designed to pivot 180 degrees like this, because it's meant for you to be able to scooch right up to the edge of your desk and then raise these armrests up, and it acts as additional arm support. And if you can get them to be 90 degrees, I can, because, you know, again, I'm a little bit shorter. You can get your arms in kind of that flat position and tight, as opposed to, you know, what sometimes people do is they kind of prone their wrists like this, and that creates that carpal tunnel over time kind of effect. That's what they say. So yeah, in order to get your wrists like this is what this is supposed to be able to help with. These arms can also move in and out, but not like the way we've seen, which is where, you know, the armrest can just basically move in and out. The way you do it on this chair is that you have to swivel them till they get to a full 180, and then you can turn them in this way so they get super close to you, or you can swivel them outwards so that it's super far and super wide out. And finally, there's a tab right here that if you push it, you can actually tilt your armrest up like this. This button is a pain in the ass to get to because it's just really far out from the arm. It's hard to do at the same time. It might be easy if you have big hands. I have small hands, and you know what they say about people with small hands? They make great chair reviewers. Anyway, so you're able to tilt it up and down like that, and the purpose of this that we've seen in a lot of these chairs coming out from Asia is the fact that you can turn them in, and now you can do mobile gaming, read your iPad, read a newspaper if you really want, without having to like slouch over or bend your neck in a slouch position. The arm pads are very stiff and have almost no give. I'm exhausted, but we're just getting started. Okay, so moving up to the lumbar support, I'm going to turn it sideways here so you can see. This lumbar support can actually move dynamically with you. So if I go ahead and push it like this, you can see that it's able to kind of push in and out, and it can also move slightly down as well if I push it down here like this, so that when you sit in it, when it's unlocked, it's going to kind of dynamically adjust to how much pressure you're putting on it, and it kind of moves with you as you move, depending on how much pressure. If you're up more, it's going to come out more. If you're back more, it's going to compress in, and then these things, because they're separated, it's going to hug that lower back lumbar area just like that. Now, you're not limited to that, because let's say you want it in a certain fixed position. Let's say you want to be more out of your chair, but you don't want this thing touching you. Well, what you can do is you can compress it in, and then there's a knob right here, and if you spin that, it's going to actually lock it in that position, so it's not going to scooch out. And so now if you wanted to sit forward, it's not going to be touching you, tickling your lower back at all, so that's good. And then if you wanted, you can also kind of do this, and if you want it more aggressive when you're sitting upright, you can go ahead and lock it in this position, and now when you sit back in your chair, this thing is not going to compress and move inside, and it's going to be really, really aggressive like that. Now, while this lock does lock the in and out adjustment, it doesn't lock the up and down motion for some reason. Something cool I discovered after breaking that knob is that if you look right here, there's a like button, which you should definitely hit, and get subscribed. Just to be super clear, that was 100% my fault, not a fault of the chair. No one is supposed to put pressure on that knob downwards. There's no reason that you should be pushing the lumbar support downwards with your hand like that. That knob is only supposed to be twisted left or right, so that is 100% on me. It's okay, I like the mesh version better anyway. All right, so we're not gonna do it that way this time. I'm just gonna push down on like this, but the up and down motion for some reason doesn't lock in place. So if I were to push it down and I were to lock it, you can see that it just comes back up, which is a real shame because I wish the lumbar support went just a little bit lower for someone shorter like me. Moving up to this top backrest part, this thing also has a little bit of flex, but it's not using this kind of in and out compression flex. This thing is just kind of using plastic to kind of flex in and out. But because the lumbar support protrudes out so much, when you sit in the chair, only your shoulder blades really makes contact with that backrest, so I'm not sure how it's supposed to tilt in like that anyway. Moving up to the headrest, you get a height adjustment where you can click it up like this, and if you want to bring it down, you need to move it all the way to the top, and it'll just drop down like that. This also has a headrest depth adjustment, which I really, really like. You don't see this a lot on headrests, so bravo to ThunderX3. The way this works, and again, this is one of those dynamic self-adjusting things where if you put pressure on it, it'll push back. But if you let go, it's gonna spring back. Really love it because it allows you to really kind of get that perfect amount of tension when you're pushing back on it. But again, it's just like the lumbar support where let's say you are sitting in the chair and you're kind of sitting upright and you can see that it's making contact here. I personally don't like using headrest when I'm sitting up. I don't like when it touches me. I don't like when it tickles me. I can push it back, compress it with my head, and then there's a knob back here. If I spin that, and you can see that the headrest is gonna stay there. And now, even though it's making just tiny bit of contact with the back of my hairs, it's not nearly as much on the back of my head as before. So again, a really nice touch. If you want the headrest static, you can do that, or you can open it up so that it's just nice and dynamic for you, depending on how much pressure you're putting on that headrest. The headrest can also swivel up and down like this. It's nice and wide and it's got a decent tension. So when you're on it, you don't feel like you're sinking into it. You don't feel like you're hitting any hard parts. And because it's wide, you actually get a decent amount of movement before hitting the edge of the headrest. And finally, one more thing here on the back. You've got this coat hanger here so that if you wanted to rest your coat or jacket or backpack or whatever, you could do so. Just don't put it on that knob. Yeah. Now that I've broken down all of its features and functions, let me talk about who this chair is probably best suited for, like what types of sitters, as well as why I prefer the mesh version. So let me get this one out of here. These chairs are probably best suited for people who like to slightly tilt back when you sit, and not for the people who like to sit upright. So if you're somebody who likes to sit upright, a lot of that pressure on your sit bones is going to happen kind of in like that butt area, kind of where the bone is like the deepest on your, in your sitting area. Like that's going to be generally where the pressure is felt. But because the lumbar support on this protrudes out so far, even when you compress it in, it's still out so far that the pressure ends up being slightly more forward. And because of that, it doesn't feel all that comfortable when you're sitting straight 90 degrees like this. It actually feels significantly better if you're tilted back just a little bit like this, because then the pressure comes off of the sit bones a little bit and it's a little bit more evenly dispersed across that like back half of your butt cheek area. Also, when you tilt back in the chair, the lumbar support starts to feel a little bit more streamlined on your back as opposed to kind of pushing and digging into one area. Now keep in mind that I am somebody who likes aggressive lumbar, and even for me, I think in the upright position, it's just too much. And the pressure on my sit bones is quite extreme when I'm sitting in the 90-degree position. The reason why I say go with the mesh version if you are somebody who likes to sit slightly tilted back, which is how I sit, by the way, it's because on the fabric version, the tension is so tight that when I talk about the pressure on the sit bones, it is literally like double the amount on the fabric version compared to the mesh. The mesh does feel softer, it has more give, and so even in the 90-degree position, this feels better. Like I was sitting on that chair all this morning, and the mesh version just feels so much better. I feel like there's so much pressure that's been relieved there, and when you tilt back, you get double that benefit. Again, this also feels really, really good as well. This chair is probably going to be good for the tallest of people out there. When I go ahead and extend the chair all the way up in terms of height, and then I extend the backrest up 3 times as high as it'll go, 1, 2, 3, and I raise the headrest as high as it'll go, you can see that this chair is basically the same height as me. So it's like you're sitting on me, which is not dirty at all. As for the minimum height, it's probably going to be around 5'6". I say that because when I sit in this chair, I'm 5'6" by the way, this headrest hits me just in that curvature just right. Any shorter and it might look a little weird, as well as the seat depth and the height of this chair. If you're any shorter, your feet are either not going to be making proper contact with the floor, or the back of your knee pits is going to be making contact with the seat edge here. In terms of weight, ThunderX3 claims that this chair can support up to 330 pounds. I could not find a warranty policy on the website anywhere, but after talking to a rep, they told me that you get a 2-year warranty on the chair in the United States and in Europe. When I asked about the rest of the world, they told me they would get back to me, and if I get an update, I'll put it on the screen. Like and subscribe. Until next time, stay honest.